Hey, legal besties. I'm Michaela.
And I'm Allison.
And welcome back to Ladies in Law. Today we have part 2 with
Danielle Miller of Miller Personal Injury Attorneys based out of Las Vegas.
Yay! Again, we're so happy that you traveled here to be with us today. Thank you so much. We're having so much fun getting to know you and hang out with you. I know. And so if you haven't tuned into part 1, definitely please do. It is worth the listen. Danielle is a kick-ass, badass human, and we could learn so much from her and her experience. And so we're going to just keep picking her brain in this episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
And again, this season, we are talking about how to not lose your softness, be authentically you, and the intricacies of being a female professional in a heavily male-dominated field. And so I kind of want to first lean into that last part for this season. So according to the ABA, only 5% of attorneys in the U.S. are Black. And then further, only 2% are Black female attorneys. And so I kind of want to talk to you just about the intricacies and the intersectionality of being a Black female attorney and the barriers or the boundaries that you felt have been in place for you throughout your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad, first of all, that you guys want to talk about this because I do think that it is an important topic to discuss. And it doesn't get discussed enough. So thank you. I appreciate, you guys bring it up.
Always.
Of course.
It's been, oh gosh. It's definitely something you notice. I mean, I'm sure you guys know, as soon as you walk into a courtroom, it's probably better now, but there's only so many women. Well, when I walk into a courtroom or in any room, it's usually just me. I mean, that's it. That's the reality. There are expectations, you know what I'm saying? Definitely. And I don't know if it's necessarily self-imposed or the way most of us have, spent our lives as far as feeling like we do have to do better. We have to, truly perform at our peak. I have friends where it could be an MSJ hearing and they're like, oh, whatever. And I'm like, oh no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
I'm just going to wing it. And you're like, I could never.
I could never.
Yeah.
I could absolutely
I don't have
never.
that luxury.
Yeah.
I don't have that luxury at all between not just the judge's expectation of me, but also the firm that I'm at, their expectation of me. Everything has to be perfect. And that is very stressful.
Yeah.
It's very, because are you ever able to fully develop your confidence under those circumstances?
When the bar is that high.
When the bar is
Perfect.
that high. Yeah.
Higher than everybody else's. Like you're already
Absolutely.
starting behind. And then you're also having to prove that you deserve to be in the space that you are in and that you have worked just as hard, if not a lot harder than others who are in that same space.
And it's constantly having to prove. It's constantly having to prove and show that you have value and that you have things to offer. And I have this conversation with the few, other Black attorneys that I know in Las Vegas, Black female attorneys, and we all feel the same. We have to work harder. We have to work more hours. Even women, just women alone, but then adding on, the race component. You have to put in your time. You have to. Everything you're looked at every which way.
And you have to be careful about your tone because you don't want to become known as like this overly aggressive attorney.
Oh no, I've been portrayed as, the angry Black woman more times than And what's crazy is I was never even angry.
I'm literally smiling. I don't understand.
Like if that's what you thought was angry, like, whoa, you know what I mean? But it was never angry, but that is how you were painted out to be. Yeah. Whereas with, men, they can, like I said, they can just be jerks and nobody says anything. But the title for women, like I shouldn't say you cannot. If you were an aggressive female attorney, it's not necessarily a good thing.
It's like a double-edged sword.
You can't win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're not too aggressive, you're too nice, and that gets called out. You're too nice. You need
Absolutely.
to toughen up, sharpen your elbows. Yeah. But then if you're too aggressive, it's like whoa, like coming in way too hot. Like you need to simmer down, and it's just very interesting because there's so many preconceived notions. I was telling Michaela, I got a call from, I had just hopped on a case. We just got co-counseled in. The defense attorney calls me, which great. I love when they do that. And she was fantastic. And then she kind of brought up on her own, not in a bad way, but she was just like, the first thing I do is I Google you. And immediately, okay, I know that you're Hispanic. I know that you're fairly young. So there's all these things. You're female. You're female. And she's like, oh, and you're also like fairly attractive. So like all these preconceived notions are now like in my head. And I thought that it was so interesting for her to bring that up to me as like our first encounter. But I honestly kind of appreciate it because at least we're talking about it and acknowledging it. And I don't think we do that enough because we tiptoe around this issue.
Definitely.
So
yeah, definitely. And it is, the preconceived notion, just like you said, when it's a female attorney, but then adding in the stereotypes that a lot of people have about Black women, it's awful. It's really burdensome. It's exhausting. And that was, once I started my own firm, I was like, yes, I'm never going to have to deal with that dynamic again, because it is very much internal where you're at, which doesn't help, the firm that you're at, because I'm never going to see whoever's in the courtroom with me and I'm arguing, you know what I mean? It's awful. So
how do you take care of yourself though? And you kind of touched on it. It is one of the ways, just aligning yourself with people with similar experiences to kind of just like vent.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, because sometimes, and this is another thing too, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this, you have to have somebody to say, am I the one being crazy? Am I seeing something here?
That is Allison for me for sure.
Was that passive aggressive?
Yeah. You have to have that, especially when it comes to race, because you don't ever want to think, am I just being hypersensitive? Because that's a possibility, possibly. Or is that legit a microaggression? So let me bounce this off of this person and say, hey, oh yeah, I saw what you saw. And sometimes they've told me, no, whatever. I could see how you would see it that way, but whatever the case may be. But it is good to have that, that commonality with sounding board. Exactly.
Well, yeah, because it's like sometimes you just need your feelings to be validated. Because sometimes like there's only so much power we have. And then it's like also exhausting for you to be in the position to constantly educate people or teach them. Like you shouldn't have to. Exactly. And that's exhausting.
Definitely.
And so at least to have people around you that like understand your plight and also are like affirming that like, you are not crazy. You are not reading into this. Like this is not just like a learned behavior because you're used to being treated this way, which also is, I was going to say the F word. I don't even know. Do I usually cuss on here? Messed up. Do I cuss? I don't even know. I do, but do I on here? I can remember.
No, and I just to like touch on that. I think it's amazing to have a support group where you can just vent, but it's also nice to just have like allies that see something blatantly, especially if it's in front of a judge.
Absolutely.
Yes. I personally haven't had that happen yet, but I can only imagine, like, if it's someone like a judge or like a very high authority figure, it's nerve-wracking to then be the one to have to stand up. So if you have an ally that is like, no, Your Honor, she is not the interpreter.
Right.
This is plaintiff's counsel.
Exactly.
It just gives you that extra, like, okay, someone has my back. I'm not alone. I can like take a little breath here.
And I think we should do that. I think I love that you're bringing that up because it's great to have, but it's also good. Something we can do too is be an ally for one another and say, you know what, this isn't right or this isn't okay. And I do feel like, the younger generation, you guys are getting, you know what I mean, a lot better at that because when I first started practicing, no way.
Oh my gosh.
No one wanted to have these conversations either
not
because
at
if
all.
you actually acknowledge it, you have to do something about it. And there's so much comfort in what it already is.
Absolutely. And if it's not your problem, if it's not your problem, you should be used to it, Danielle. Like, fine. Whatever the case may be. But no, it still sucks. And like you said, it is exhausting. It's constantly having to mind your P's, be on top of everything just for no reason, just because of the color of the skin and your gender. That's it.
And the sad part is, we talk about sometimes it coming from opposing counsel or a judge or whoever. Sometimes it comes from your own clients. And that is, I don't know if you've experienced that, but it's almost like the worst.
Definitely. Absolutely. And I'm, this is something that I actually talk about with a lot of my Black friends too. There's a struggle too, because sometimes when you are an educated Black woman, sometimes other Black people feel some type of way about you. So it's a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot because you're not, you speak too proper, or you're this, or you're that. You are treated like you're not Black enough. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And a friend and I, we talk about this. He and I talk about it every other day. We were just texting about it last night. He's like, I wish we as a people, Black people would stop downing each other. We should always just support one another, because even though you may think I'm not quote unquote Black enough, you don't know that I was just in a room, I was just in a deposition where somebody thought I was the paralegal or the court reporter. You know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate.
I was just having this conversation with Michaela. I grew up in a predominantly white area. My high school, there were like a handful of Hispanic kids, and I just, because of that upbringing, I didn't have the accent that some of my peers had, and so I never felt Latina enough. And I was born in Ecuador. Spanish is my first language, so it was just crazy to me to have that feeling. And you kind of touched on it, like not feeling Black enough, but then you have both, and so there's this like dynamic of like, I'm just not enough anywhere.
I don't belong anywhere. It is truly how you feel. I mean, granted, my family never felt that, never treated me that way, but it's people who don't know me. But it's like, okay, I'm obviously not white, so I'm not going to fit in there, but I'm obviously not Black enough, so I'm kind of ostracized. It's a struggle. And I think the education part of it too, and the moving up as far as, but that's not true, because in junior high, I was like, oh, you're not Black enough. So I'm like, okay. So I don't think education has to do anything with it. It's just people's, maybe their projection of themselves. I don't know. Sure.
But I do think sometimes, like, if you are hanging out with, family members that maybe aren't as educated, they're like, oh, she thinks she's too good.
Oh yeah.
Too good for us. And it's like, no, it's not that. I think there's so many complexities behind it. And it's nice when you are around other people that are in similar situations to just kind of be like, okay, I'm not crazy.
And I can relax now.
Yeah,
because it's almost like you're trying to convince yourself your feelings aren't valid.
I know.
And that's also exhausting, because then you're also like, you're at war with yourself too.
Yeah.
Or even in the rhetoric of just like, well, maybe I looked into it too much, or maybe it's because I've seen this before and I'm projecting it on. And it's like, well, no, but like, you shouldn't be in the position in the first place to feel that way, or have the mental gymnastics in your head.
And the mental gymnastics on top of already just having to do your work and get X, Y, and Z done. And then like, oh wait, but I don't want to offend this person, so like I should probably like say this differently. And you're like, I'm just tired now.
It's like you're so considerate for other people, and then it's like, why aren't I getting the same consideration?
We don't give ourselves enough grace. We really don't give ourselves. We're so focused on performing and pleasing and doing well for others, but like, what makes us happy, and what you know what I'm saying? Or you can have that balance. You know what I'm saying, where you're not doing those mental gymnastics, because it is exhausting.
Yes, but then there's also like an aspect of intentionality behind giving yourself grace that sometimes is so hard when you're ruminating and already in that space. And sometimes I don't recognize I'm doing it until I'm already like an hour into it,
Absolutely.
Or burned out because you've just spent so much extra time thinking about things that maybe another person wouldn't have to really worry about. So what you kind of touched on it. What do you do to take care of yourself?
Oh gosh. Well, it used to be drinking. I used to do a lot. And that's something I wish that they would also talk to us about in law school. I don't know if they did with you guys, but just like having good outlets that are not self-destructive, because the job and the profession is stressful. That's some, you know what I mean? I think that that's important. I mean, we have CLEs, you know what I mean? Yeah. But by then it's too late.
And I don't think people take them seriously enough until you hear about someone that you actually know committing suicide or falling heavily on like drugs or alcohol, and that at that point it's like it's too late for them.
Yeah, I was gonna say in my law school it was like orientation, and they told us a statistic of like how many alcoholics are in the profession of law. And then they just kind of moved on. And then I'm like, okay, well, what are we doing about it? Like, can we talk about mental health and how to like, all these things where it's just like, okay, a statistic, like there are layers to that. Like, why are we there?
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, what are you going to do with it? So it's like, it's not something to just be like, well, now you guys know, okay.
So don't drink.
And that is how they approach it. Yeah. That's it. It's nothing, it's not giving us the skills, to learn how to balance the stresses of the profession and all the things. I work out religiously. I'm not going to miss. Even my friends will be like, hey, no, I'm getting up early. I'm working out, because It's not even physical at all. It is truly my mental. If I'm like ruminating over something or really upset about something or had a bad day, I can work out and I'll be like, ah. Even my mom, I'll call her. She'll be like, you sound like a new woman. I'm like, I got my workout in. I got my workout in. Yeah, because, and I think that's really important for us to do some sort of self-care, a bath. You know, you guys have each other, which is huge, having a great support system, because you also don't want to have, you have a lot of things to talk about. You don't necessarily want to, I don't want to say burden, but you don't necessarily want to bring that to your significant other or your other family members. So, being able to share that experience with each other is so huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's something so powerful about talking to someone who intrinsically understands. Because it's sometimes when you feel like you almost have to catch someone up or explain to them, where it's just kind of at that point, it's like, I am already over it. Like,
Forget it. I'm over it.
Yeah. But if you start at the baseline of just like, I know this person gets it. Like there's not all of that like backwards work to get to there. You just kind of can start.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially working at the same firm, like I don't even have to like explain things. I just she knows. So I'm so blessed to have Michaela. But I think just one like I've heard a lot of people say that like the exercise it's mental, like that mental break.
It is.
Especially when you're using your brain so much, like. At a certain point, you're just like, I just want to not think.
Yeah. And
it's like the most productive way not to think.
Is.
It's like I am working on myself and my betterment. It's like the most present I ever am is in a workout.
And it's so funny you say that, because there have been times where I'm like, I have a problem and I'm not really sure how to solve it. And then I'm working out and I'll be like, oh my gosh, it came to me. Like, why don't I do this? And that's great too. I mean, there's so many aspects of it. It helps me with my sleep. I get better sleep after I worked out, just all the things. So I think it's important for everybody to have some sort of outlet for the stresses of being a female attorney.
Totally. And knowing what your outlet is.
Yes.
Because it's not a one size fits all.
It's not at all. And it does take trial and error, because I've tried other things like alcohol.
And you're like, this is not making
not going to work.
But it's funny how like centered a lot of attorney events are around alcohol.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it almost feels like you're weird if you don't drink.
Oh no, and they'll be like, oh.
Yeah, like, oh, you're not drinking.
Because they think you probably had a problem.
Yeah.
Without really. And I used to feel that way. I used to think, oh, there's a reason they don't drink. But now I'm like, when somebody tells me, I'm like, wow, because I recognize how hard it can be in this profession to not do it.
Yes.
Oh yeah. When I got pregnant, I started going to a few events and like I wasn't drinking and I was like, wow, like I feel like it's a completely different experience, and it would be nice to have more events that are like big conferences,
absolutely,
where it's not centered so much around the drinking.
For sure,
but
definitely.
I'm just like, I know. Like happy hours, or it's, I don't know, like you almost feel weird if you just don't have something in your hand because someone's going to ask about it.
That is true. Not even having anything in your hand, it is awkward.
Yeah.
It is very awkward.
Yeah, and almost it's like that like crutch, because it's like if you're showing up somewhere alone too, then it's kind of just like a little, you just are trying to make yourself feel comfortable. And then it's like, what is that? Is it conforming to what's around me?
Right.
Is it standing firm in what I want to be? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes can be really hard.
Yeah, it is.
What about, so you talked about exercise as like an outlet. You also are very involved in giving back to your community.
Yes.
How did you start off? Why is that important to you? And how do you continue to show up for people?
I would definitely have to, good job, mom and dad.
Shout out.
Yeah, that was them. They were very much, my dad was in the Air Force, so obviously as a service member, it is serve. My mom worked for the Air Force, same thing, serve. I mean, I just think of going back as to like a little girl of like, getting our donations together, and then like we would, recycle the cans. Like we were all about the climate before like being into the climate was a thing.
Hipster climate, like
recycling our cans, and, making sure, we're doing the things. But yeah, I would definitely have to say my parents, as far as giving back to the community any way that we can, any small way that we can. And that was something it's always been important to me. But when you work at other firms, and most law firms are, they believe in giving back, but it's not necessarily your choice of where you want to give back to. Yeah. So I said, as soon as I open my firm, I'm going to give back, and there's actually a friend of mine, she was actually a coach at my gym. I opened my firm in April. I hit her up in May and said, hey, what are we doing together? So I've sponsored some of their events. I'm also a board member for the nonprofit, the Cupcake Girls.
We saw that. Okay, yeah.
That's
Can you tell us a little
awesome.
bit about that?
Absolutely. So it's really to provide holistic, care resources, whatever our participants need. Either they can either be, sex traffic victims, or they can be, consensual sex workers if they need whatever. If they need, condoms, whatever, for their trade, we have that. If they were sex trafficked, we provide, opportunities to talk to counselors. So we do all the things, non-judgmental,
Resources. Yeah.
non-judgmental, because we don't care. It's your body as a woman. You can do what you want with it. We are really just here to help you in any way that we can. That's
amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I do love it. So I want to get involved and do all the things, and try to find ways to give back in any way. So
I think that's an incredible outlet too, though, because there's something about helping people that brings you so much more fulfillment. And I think you kind of said it before we hopped on. It's like, it gives you that lasting, I don't know what the word is. That lasting thing.
Yeah. The thing, like
the good feeling from it.
Yeah.
Because, we talk about, and maybe, I don't know, I'm sure other professions are like this. I feel like a lot of attorneys can be very materialistic. They want the fancy this, the fancy that. And I went through that phase when I first, started making money. I was like, I can buy all this. And then I'm like, I kept like not feeling satisfied after I got the thing.
Yeah.
And, there's a theory, it's called like hedonic adaptation, where if you keep trying to get the thing, the new car, you're happy for a minute, but then
until the next new
thing. But I have found personally that giving back that good feeling of happiness lasts longer. And just the people that I meet, what I'm saying, being involved with the Cupcake Girls and being, involved with other nonprofits.
And then naturally those people then develop like a natural trust with you and can lead to potential like cases coming your way.
Absolutely.
So I think it just comes full circle. It's like authentically, like not you marketing out there.
Exactly.
It's an authentic way to sort of build a community.
Well, because you are like leading with your compassion.
Definitely.
You are leading with your understanding.
Absolutely.
And it's like, if I'm thinking about someone that I want to advocate for me, like that's who I would want to advocate for me.
Yeah, no, and because I really love people and helping people in any way that I can. And, I'll go to things. I don't even say I'm an attorney. I'm just like, I just want to build a relationship with you.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hit you up for business if you're potentially in a car accident. Like, I really just like you. I want to help you and see how I can do that. And it's been appreciated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of people reaching out to me saying, I love what you're doing in the community. And that, oh my gosh, it melts my heart. It's, forget the case, as long as you're happy with me giving back, it means a lot.
Not only that, but I think just putting yourself out there and showing younger generations, like, yes, there are people that look like you that are attorneys that have their own businesses, and like, you can do it too.
Definitely.
I think just having that representation is so important. It's huge.
And it's so funny. So it is huge. And it's so refreshing. I was at a career expo for a high school in Las Vegas, and all the kids were coming in, and it was a lot of young Black and brown girls and boys coming up, and there was a black guy behind me at another table, and he said, I am so happy to see so many kids wanting to talk to you, because you're showing them you can do it, and the reality is representation matters. It really does, because if you're not seeing people that look like you out there doing it, you can't even fathom it.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It's so powerful and inspiring too, because like, I'm sure there's people that have this like thought of like, maybe I'd want to go to law school, but it seems so far-fetched, and then they see someone that looks like them and they're like, maybe it's not that far-fetched.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's doable. Yeah, I love it.
I just like, I am so in awe of who you are. Like, you just like ooze like authenticity and genuinity, and it's just like so refreshing. To just be with someone that like cares so deeply and like does something with it. Because it's one thing to say you do, and it's another to put like action behind the words. And we also, like, a big part of what we like to do on our podcast is talk about like who we are outside of the law, because we like, our profession is attorneys, but we are human beings first. And so as our last little segment of this 2-part series, can you kind of tell us a little bit more about just like what makes Danielle Danielle?
Oh, what makes Danielle do that?
I know. Like, where to begin?
I'm a simple person. I'm really truly just a simple person. I like the simple things in life, you know, laughing, meeting new people like you guys who are just so sweet. Like I'm like, if this is the next generation of attorneys, you know, we're gonna be okay.
Oh,
definitely.
We're
We're gonna be
so
great.
happy.
We're gonna be better than okay. Absolutely.
hell yeah.
Because this would have never happened. You know what I'm saying? This type of dynamic when I first started practicing. But I'm a simple person. You know, I like spending time with my friends, my parents, you know, my family, my dog, you know, football. I mean, I'm just a very, very simple person. And I do love what I do. Absolutely. But like you said, it's not all of us. You know, we're definitely, you know, someone outside of our profession. But yeah, and meeting new people and doing what I can to give back.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I think just like hearing your entire journey and just getting to know you today has been so incredible.
Oh,
like
thank
it
you.
Feels like
really
a
has.
gift.
Yes.
This has been awesome. You guys have made this so, I'm just like, you know, super comfortable. And yeah, it's been great. I was nervous. So yeah.
we're so excited.
You made me feel
No.
very comfortable.
Thank you. We love it. It's like we get to just like chit chat and like just like pick your
Absolutely.
brain and like be inspired by you and hope that like everyone else can be too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope some kids will, you know, see this or even their parents say, you know what, you know, if you need a role model or somebody to look up to, it's yours for the taking.
Yeah. If anyone did want to reach out, where can they reach you?
So Instagram.
Yeah.
And my handle is at Miller Law Vegas. They can, you know, call or text too, 702-330-0013. But yeah, Miller Law Vegas. And that's
Amazing.
actually the website too.
Oh, perfect.
So it's a handle
That was
and
smart.
the website. I know,
Yeah, I like
right?
that.
That's what that business plan did.
We love a good business plan.
We need a sample.
I know. Like, can you make a template?
Template's the best.
Right.
Oh, yes.
We can't thank you enough, truly,
thank
for being
you.
here and inspiring us all. And thank you guys for tuning in to part 2. And we will talk to you in a couple weeks.